Cancer took it off and the doctor removed it.
She didn't ask to have it removed.
Putting that little picture back on, it's not only restoring the body back to a normal, what the new normal is, but emotionally, we can rest and we can let that go.
Are you ready?
I am.
Let's do this.
1, 2, 3, 4.
This is Unplanned America, where you're invited to join Nick, Gonzo and me, Parv, as we flee Australia and road trip around the land of the free in search of the weird, wonderful, mysterious and sometimes scary unplanned side of America. This week we explore tattoo culture in Southern California, first heading to the legendary Shamrock Social Club before spending time with gang members who are removing damaging reminders of their past, and finally meeting Dawn, who is undergoing areola tattooing as part of restorative breast surgery.
I don't want to give somebody a tattoo that's going to make it impossible for him to get a job, you know what I mean? I don't want him to think, that fucking Mark, he fucked me up, you know?
For generations, rock and rollers have ventured to the Sunset Strip in Los Angeles, hoping to leave their mark on the world. However, this time around, the Sunset Strip was going to leave its mark on us, as we headed to the iconic Shamrock Social Club tattoo parlor.
Well, Shamrock, you know, it's kind of like a landmark. It really epitomizes Hollywood and rock and roll. Gangsters to celebrities, it's all in the same place. And it's one place where everyone can kind of just hang out and be the same and be equal.
There's never a dull moment right here. The one place where you could, you know, get an A-list actor standing next to some crazy, you know, looking vatos, you know? A cool-ass situation that doesn't happen anywhere else in the world.
You know, what's amazing about Shamrock Social Club is Mark owns it. You know, Mark is a unique artist with an amazing style in everything he does and everything he says. All of us working here have been influenced by him. He's definitely someone that everybody respects and everybody looks up to. Apart from the great location and the great people working here, it's all about Mark.
With over 40 years in the biz, Mark Mahoney is a living legend of the tattoo world. He counts Hollywood's elite as his clients, while never forgetting his roots in the illegal underworld East Coast tattoo scene of the 70s. Always impeccably dressed and incredibly welcoming, it's safe to say Mark is one of the coolest guys we've ever come across.
After being in all those tattoo shops back east in the 70s, where unless you got lucky and you knew a guy, they'd be kind of fucking rude. So I just decided when I get a tattoo shop, I'm gonna make it, and it would be nice to people. If it was a nice Catholic kid who was brought up like that, I wanted to be a good experience for people, and I wanted to assemble like the best crew of people I could get, but I didn't want it to be like an arty-farty gallery, Pierre the Artiste environment. I wanted it to be a tattoo shop.
Somewhat ironically, the stunning work of Mark and his famous Shamrock crew has ended up on art gallery walls. Even if Mark remains humble about his skills and the pioneering black and grey fine line style which his shop has become synonymous with.
I kind of like to think of it as a trade, you know, or a craft, and then it's up to the people that, you know, see it or get it to decide whether it's an art, you know. One of the things that appealed to me is that it's like a, you know, a thing that you do with your hands and a tool, and it's, you know, like plumbing in that respect.
The unique part of our form of art is that our canvas is alive and has an opinion. And thinks and has an opinion.
I had two options for where I was going to get the tattoo. For my big, high, muscular calf or the lower part.
Yeah, it's huge, actually.
That's big, but all down there. I decided lower, but apparently that's more painful.
A wave of fear just came over me.
Like, the style of tattooing that I do is, you know, from prison. So, like, a lot of the great guys that have done it are guys that started in prison, and it's hard to make the transition of, you know, an underground prison tattooer to a street tattooer. But the guys who have, they're some of the best there is.
I was in a lockup program, you know, for troublemaker kids, you know, or whatever. But the staff in there they let us tattoo ourselves, you know. I learned how to make the homemade prison machine. I got really good in there. When I got out, You know, I went to work for Ed Hardy and Jack Rudy, and together we pioneered the style that's called black and gray.
My best tattoo next to my crappiest.
As a kid, when I'd get Crayola crayons, the black one would be like a ½ inch long before I touched any of the color ones, so it's natural for me to. And I remember seeing that first black and gray fine line tattoo, and it was one that Freddie did, and you know, it was equal to that first epiphany I had walking into a tattoo shop.
It originally came from California prison system, but it was developed by the Chicanos of East LA, you know, and our whole culture of kind of gang life, the images that were important to us, lettering, you know, who we are, where we're from, because everybody was from a different street or a different gang, religious images, Mary, Jesus, clown girls, all those images were really important to us.
How do you feel to be regarded as a godfather of that sort of style?
You know, I look at Freddie as being the godfather, but I mean, I'm in the fucking top, you know, 3 or 4 fucking guys that have been doing it the longest. And yeah, I'm real proud of that, you know. I remember one time the club was bringing me to another club as a token or whatever, where I was gonna tattoo their president who had just gotten out of the penitentiary. I was 19, I was a kid. It was a winter day in Boston, so I get to this big barn-like clubhouse, and I set everything up, and this huge fucking guy who had just gotten out of prison, I'm gonna tattoo, and I go to squirt him with the green soap, and it's been in the ice-cold thing, so he rears up, knocks me over, knocks my whole table over, the shit's flying, and I'm looking at this big, like, 40-foot swastika flag on the ceiling. And I remember, like, clearly thinking, like, well, this is a point where you could get nervous, you know, this would be, but if you allow yourself to get nervous, somehow I knew that I would be fucking nervous forever. I'm not that bold in any other corner of my life, you know what I mean? Somehow with this, I knew it was what I was supposed to be doing, so I didn't have my usual insecurities or whatever. So I was like, fuck it, just, you know, get up and do the best I can, and I did. Tattooing has, you know, helped me a lot, you know, with that kind of stuff, yeah. Mm-hmm. Kids seem to rush into getting sleeved or whatever, and I think it's just like, you know, when a chapter ends or a new one begins in your life, that's when you get tattooed, and you gotta look at it on the big arc, you know, the big picture, and not a rush to get a bunch of stuff. If it's gonna get you laid, then get it, but I mean, fucking, you know, like I said, you want it to improve the quality of your life.
Do you think that the tattoo I've got from you tonight is going to help me get laid?
I don't think there's any hope for you either which way. But,
do you want to just hang out with these two? Because this is the sort of shit I got from them on the regular, so that's great.
Yeah, no.
Thanks. There's 3 against 1. Sweet. What do you think are the core reasons that lead people to sort of become members of gangs?
Yeah, it's all about a lethal absence of hope. So if kids can't imagine a future, then their present isn't compelling. And if your present doesn't compel you, then you don't care. You don't care whether you inflict harm. You don't care whether you duck to get out of harm's way. There isn't a single kid who's ever walked through these doors who was seeking something when he joined a gang. They were all fleeing something.
Headed up by Father Greg, Homeboy Industries in downtown LA helps gang members find a way out of their destructive lifestyles. They offer job placement within Homeboy, as well as education services, therapy, addiction treatment, and legal assistance. One of the most important services they offer is the removal of gang tattoos that are from a life many are seeking to leave behind.
3, 2, 1.
It feels like hot needles shooting fire or something like that. I mean, it's a laser.
Yeah.
You know, but for many people who come in here, the pain is momentary, and it's much more painful for them to have the tattoos on, right, than to remove them. Left inner mid finger, thug, and life. Ring finger. Outer.
Like all the doctors at Homeboy Industries, Dr. Troy donates his services for free. Were it not for him and other volunteers, this vital service would cease to exist, as would a chance at redemption for many former gang members such as Pedro, who shared his story.
The only thing I'm gonna tell you, if you're gonna get my face, you gotta get my good subs. Like, I'm a gang member, right? I had a WS on my face. I had my whole neck tatted. I had my whole head done. I did about 12 years in the joint in the system. The only way for a way out is to someone actually be able to grab you and teach you change, right? And that's what Homeboy does. I removed every single part of me that was my old way of life, right? I used to be this gang member. I used to talk gang related. Every conversation I had was either about prison stabbings or murders or shootings or whatever, right? And now I don't. Now I talk about productive, I talk recovery. I talk to youngsters and I try to embed a different lifestyle in them because it hurts me to see the youth going through the same struggle that I did. Now, when I came up, I didn't have nobody telling me that I was wrong.
The three profiles of the kids who join gangs are kids who are despondent in a way that's profound and deep, or traumatized and damaged, and they don't know how to transform their pain, so they just keep transmitting it. And the third profile of the kid is the mentally ill kid. So sometimes it's a combination of 1 and 3 and 2 and 1, but that's it. Those are the only profiles.
I remember being 11, 12 years old in the projects. Older homie in his 20s, 30s gave me a gauge, 12-gauge shotgun, and telling me, don't trip, little homie, everything's gonna be all right. If you got my back, I got your back. And we grew up with this, I call now a facade. From 11 to 24, I was incarcerated. The longest I stayed out was 21 days. You know, I was ready to give the rest of my life to the prison system if it wasn't for Homeboy Industries. I saw that even by me taking off my tattoos, people treating me different. Wow, you're changing. Wow, like you feel something like, oh, well maybe if I take out something else, you know, I'll be changing more. And then I wanted to change the way I talked and the way I dressed because I wanted to give myself an opportunity to live. Not only that, but I got kids now. And I think I owe them the opportunity to be able to live.
Well, it was born because of a guy named Frank who came into my office 20 years ago, and he had tattooed on his forehead, "Fuck the world," huge, filled the whole thing. And he said, you know, I'm having a hard time finding a job.
Surprising.
I said, well, I went to find a doctor, a dermatologist who had a laser machine, and he donated 1 hour a month to remove his tattoo and a couple others. Pretty soon, I had a waiting list of 3,000 gang members who wanted this service.
And have you got any idea of how many people have come through these doors that you've been able to help in the 26 years of Homeboy Industries?
Well, we get about 15,000 folks a year, and there are 1,100 gangs in LA County and 120,000 gang members. So I don't think there's a gang in LA County that hasn't had at least one member wander through here.
Another of Father Greg's success stories is Fabian Deborah, a former gang member and addict who is now a counsellor and mentor at Homeboy Industries, as well as a successful artist.
My father was a heroin addict, and because of his addiction, his neglect, his abuse, and his trauma that it instilled in me, I felt less than. When I walked out my door, I would see nothing but gangs, and that's what I was accustomed to. So eventually, because of the hurt, I made a decision to join a gang. I left the gang in 1994. Once I left the gang, I became a major drug addict. After I did that, I had 2 near-death experiences. I tried to commit suicide behind the drug methamphetamine. Thank God that this place was in existence, that I was able to come through these doors and see Father Boyle. And he gave me my stepping stone to get my life back on track.
In the old days, if a gang member was on this crazy, violent freeway, there was no way off. There was no off-ramp. This place was an off-ramp. And for the first time, gang members could say, now I can get off.
I think tattoos is a form of identity. And so for me, when I had my tattoo on my neck, which is no longer there, for me, it was something that I stood for. To me, it was something that I was so prideful about, the city or the gang or whatever that may look like. But when you start to get a sense of the truth of who you are and you begin to love yourself, those tattoos begin to mean nothing. And then you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, damn, what did I just do? It doesn't fit, because now you have a sense of hope. Now you have been getting a taste of life. And there's nothing that I would do or that this tattoo can do to keep me from that. Maybe we have guys who come through our doors. They're leery about Homeboy. I don't know what they do, but they come to remove this tattoo. And they start to see that it's looking good. Then they go for this one. Now they're starting to feel good about that. Next thing you know, they want to know what Homeboy does. When they get a glimpse of who they are, as they remove them, and then they begin to do the work needed, the internal work, or sometimes they begin internally dealing with the core trauma, the core wound, as I did. I first dealt with the inside of the abuse, the neglect, the abandonment, everything that took place in my life. And once I was able to feel and get the taste of life, this don't make sense. The way I felt when I removed my tattoo, I felt this sense of freedom, this sense of peace. Because once you have children and you become a father and you're taking and owning the role as a father, the last thing you want is for your child to mimic what you have. And you don't want to instill that to your children. So for that, this must go.
I don't have to go back to prison today, and I don't have to die out there in my neighborhood. You know, I go home every day to my kids, and I owe that to Homeboy Industries. I owe that to Father G, which I love very much.
The last stop on our tattoo tour took us to San Diego, where breast cancer survivor Dawn was about to receive cosmetic areola work as the final touch on a reconstruction following life-saving breast removal.
I've been dealing with breast cancer for like the last 3 years. My initial diagnosis was stage 2, but because I had the BRCA1 gene, it's considered really high for reoccurrence. The treatment plan for that is to do a full mastectomy. And so I went ahead and decided to do that, and also got the reconstruction at the same time. I was advised by some people not to do the areola tattooing in the doctor's office because it's usually just done by a nurse that takes a couple classes. It's not like their full career. I went back to work and everything, and I didn't want to take more time off having the tattoo. But now I ended up a third time having cancer, and I got this opportunity to do the areolas, and I just thought, what better time? Now, just do it.
Like you said before, you're the one who has to look at your breasts every day.
Yeah.
So it's really for you.
Absolutely, absolutely, it is for me. I mean, I'm not married, so I mean, this is totally for me and how I feel about myself. This whole process it's been a journey. I mean, a roller coaster. It's hard enough hearing the C word once that you've been diagnosed with cancer one time, let alone 3. But for the most part, sadly, it sounds, kind of crazy, but I'm actually getting used to it. So, I don't know. I don't want to get too used to it though, because I'm saying third time is a charm. This third treatment is gonna make it all go away.
You seem like you're in a good headspace about it.
This is life. We all go through different things. I mean, as I get older and you meet more people, I mean, we're all going through so much stuff. Whether it's cancer or this or that, I mean, we we all have our trials and our journey.
We arrived at Natural Look and were greeted by a friendly group of ladies, led by founder Jeannie Lusby, who has over 10 years' experience in cosmetic tattooing, specialising in 3D areolas for breast cancer patients.
We are part of a survivor program where all of our areola work for breast cancer patients are complimentary. I mean, you know, they've paid enough with many things, not just financially. So we welcome them here. Money's not an issue. We put that aside. Let's just see if we can make things look better. We'll take you back, wash everything off, take a photo. We've got to photograph everything. And then we're just going to draw them on. And since you don't have a lot of color there, you can choose kind of the size of your areola and your nipple.
Okay.
Once we've gotten that established, then we're going to just check for your color and make sure that we get a good color that's going to match. And, you know, maybe you didn't particularly care for your areola color prior to, well, now you get to pick a new one if you want. Or we can go with whatever matches. You're in the driver's seat here. You can tell me what you want, and we'll try to give you what you want.
They're vulnerable when they come in. They're vulnerable when they go to their first doctor visit and the doctor says, you have cancer. And then they are vulnerable when they have to take their shirt off 150,000 times for their male physician. And then eventually there's, I can take my shirt off, no big deal, because they've lost that intimate feeling of self and sexy. And then it kind of comes all the way back around, and we as technicians put that back on.
What would you say to people that might sort of say, yeah, this is just buying into that image-conscious society we live in where it's about face value? Obviously people are more than how they appear.
I get it. There are things that we do need to be conscious about in society, and I think this is one that we really need to leave up to the decision of the patient.
Cancer took it off and the doctor removed it.
She didn't ask to have it removed.
Putting that little picture back on, it's not only restoring the body back to a normal, what the new normal is, but emotionally we can rest and we can let that go and we can move on to the next part of the journey, which is getting back to work or getting back on track, you know, with our family or our loved ones and healing.
Are you ready?
I am.
Let's do this.
You get normal tattoos, I mean, you want it to pop. You want it to look beautiful and bold colors and everything, whereas this, you want it more to blend in and just look natural.
This is intimate. This is part of your sexuality.
Yes.
You know, our lips and our areolas and other parts in our body that are pink and more mucosally, that we're so attached to that.
It's
a different way, right?
Yeah.
And your beautiful skin, your result is going to be absolutely beautiful. Just keep in mind that what you see today is going to be a little more prominent, a little darker.
Yeah.
How does it feel for you to be a part of this healing process?
I'm so honored that they even include me in it, you know, that they've asked me and they're trusting me. And, you know, they have a lot of choices. And so I grow and I get better from every experience. It's not about me, so I keep that to myself. It's about them. But, you know, at the end of the day, you just go, wow. And you're right, it is a little sisterhood. We were feeling each other's pain and we were laughing about the same things, and we talk about, you know, whether it's the intimacy part or the aesthetic part, we get it.
The whole process, I mean, just the whole reconstruction, and then this is just, like you said, the cherry on top to kind of finalize the whole reconstruction process. So, yeah, this is really exciting for me. So thank you so much, Jeannie.
It's true restorative work, and it's restoring your natural beauty on the outside and kind of healing that wound on the inside.
We had spent the day with a skillful and nurturing group of women, amazed by Jeannie's work, and the ladies even treated us to our own procedure. Dawn still faced many health battles ahead, but did so with a steely resolve, an incredibly positive outlook, and words of advice we can all learn from.
And I've traveled a lot more. Went ahead and kind of did things that I've been wanting to do, that I always thought, you know, that I have plenty of time to get to. That may not be the case now, so it's just kind of, you know, and I don't say that in like a whole, you know, dramatic way, or, you know, try and be all sad, or, you know, or woe is me, but just the fact that it is a realistic thing that, I mean, if you want to do something, you better go do it. You just kind of have to go and make your life the way you want it. You know, hug the people you care about, tell them you love them.
So we've got
a
a complimentary procedure, even though we're healthy, touch wood. But
Yeah.
what do you think?
Do you guys know anyone that does complimentary liposuction?
Or any sort of enlargement, enhancement, thickening?
Hot needles, shooting fire.